IB schools, Cambridge, CBSE, Krishnamurti, ICSE, Finland, Australia, British curriculum. There are so many schools and so many types of curriculum available. But do you know which school is actually preparing your kids for the future? On top of these options, there are many schools who do not do what they claim to do. For example, there are many schools on the name of it, they are IB or Cambridge, but I know that they are using, CBSE curriculum. They're hiring CBSE teachers who teach using CBSE textbooks and CBSE pedagogy. In fact, Montessori is not even a keyword, trademark keyword, meaning that any school can put Montessori in their name and still not follow the Montessori pedagogy, and you will be just scammed by it. In fact, I wanted to start a dhaba whose name I wanted to keep as Montessori the Dhaba, just to make sure this point was clear. But the main question is, how do you as parents know that your child's school is actually preparing them for the future? Any country's education system, or any board for that matter, their job is to basically predict how is the job market 10 years down the line going to look like. And for that job market, for that world, what skills are going to be important? And therefore, teach those skills today to the students, so the kids could be ready for that world. All right. For example, in the 70s, my dad went to state board. All right. There, the focus was a lot more on rote memorization of formulas or dates or theories and concepts. And in the 80s, when my dad went to a nationalized bank, which was his job, which was the job that he got, and where he spent the next 40 years of his life, the role was mostly that to memorize the bank rules and to aptly apply them at the right places. And that's why I say that, hey, state board, CBSE board is not a wrong curriculum or not a wrong method or bad method of teaching, but it's just that they were really good for 1970s or 80s. Well, we can use this same framework to understand whether your child's school is preparing them for the future or not. For this, first we will need a list of skills that are going to be relevant 10 years down the line. And that is going to be especially difficult given this world of AI that we are in, where every 6 months there is something new, some big change that is happening. Only if the top minds of the world, the top scientists, the top CEOs, the top inventors, ministers could come together and give us a bunch of recommendations. Well, that's exactly what happens in the World Economic Forum. Every year, in fact this year also, Jan 2025, the top industry leaders kind of met and gave us a bunch of recommendations. And according to them, these were the 5 top skills that people today should prepare for. Number 1, analytical thinking, creative thinking, resilience, curiosity and lifelong learning, AI and tech literacy. Now let's look at the job of the future and let's see how that employs these skills. Let's say your kid grows up to see a problem related to your life. Let's say they notice that, hey, you don't have good nutrition. You don't have access to good nutritionists who can create diet plans that are healthy for you and also tasty for you. They also notice that, hey, you don't have access to, personal fitness trainer that can recommend you better health regimes and, get your physical health to a higher level. They also notice that, hey, your life is kind of like stressful and, of course, job and things like that. And on certain days, if you could have had access to a psychiatrist, even a decent one, would have actually been better than having no access to any psychiatrist, right? And they see that, hey, this is a big problem, and they're able to envision that, hey, with the current technology, AI and things like that, I can create an AI assistant who is kind of like physically present like a robot and is watching over the life of my parents and is able to see what are the different stress factors, what are the nutritions, what are the diet plan, what are the physical fitness routine, and recommend suggestions in all of these areas and keep on giving them a better lifestyle. And I'm pretty sure this is going to be soon, very soon, in fact, possible, right? Now notice how to make this whole product a reality. They will have to employ all of these skills that we spoke about. First of all, this problem is a major, big, huge problem. They will have to break it down into smaller pieces and solve one piece at a time using their logical thinking, right? Like maybe they just go after the personal fitness problem first, right? And even in the personal fitness, it's going to be like so many small problems baked into together, right? So they will probably take a smaller chunk of that and solve that first, and then come back later on, right? So that is basically analytical thinking, the ability to break a big problem into smaller problems and then, apply logical reasoning skills to be able to solve that. Second is that, they will have to learn quite a lot of different skills and subject areas. Like, human biology comes into picture, psychology comes into picture, engineering of the robot, and AI and tech literacy comes into picture. And of course, that's also one skill, AI and tech literacy, right? So there are so many new things that they will have to keep on learning, and which cannot actually happen if you are not curious about learning new things, and if you are not a lifelong learner itself. So that step also comes into picture. We already spoke about the AI and tech literacy. One more thing is about creative problem solving. Of course, how products are made. I mean, every single product that is made today even requires creative problem solving. You're not going to make the product in just one try or one attempt. You will have to interview the user, try to understand them. You will have to go back, learn certain things, come with multiple ideas, pick one idea, make an MVP, a prototype, launch it, study again if it's working, what's not working, go back to the drawing board, implement, and keep on doing this over and over again multiple times to be able to have a reliable product in the market, right? So there you go. That is going to require creative problem solving. And last but not the least, this whole journey is not going to be a smooth sail, right? It's going to be an emotional roller coaster, and therefore having resilience is going to be a key factor. So that's how you are going to be employing, or your kid is going to be employing, all of these skills in the future to be able to solve this problem. And not just this problem, but any job of the future is going to be this kind of complex and require these kind of skills. Even if you take farming, for example, right? I'm pretty sure that farming in the future is going to, employ a lot of sensors at different areas that are tracking the plant health. Is there enough water? Is there enough sunlight? Is there, pesticides present or not? Then there are going to be a lot of drones that are being controlled by a central system, and the drones are being launched for various reasons, right? So even in farming, you will employ all of these skills that we spoke about. So now that you know about the skills of the future, and you've also seen examples to understand them, let's see if your child's school is actually preparing them for this future or not. So for example, let's say your child's school is focusing a lot more on rote memorization of facts and dates and formulas and theories. Through homeworks, through the lessons that are delivered in the classes, through the lectures that are delivered in the classes, through exams that happen, they drill down on this rote memorization, this knowledge of dates and facts and theories and things like that. Then your school is a traditional school and probably not preparing for the future, because if this is the focus area, then there is a lot less of analytical thinking that is actually happening, like breaking down of big concepts into smaller problems and taking each problem at a time and trying to solve them using logical reasoning skills. If your school kind of claims that, hey, look, my school is really creative. I have a dance teacher, I have music teacher, I have got painting teacher and all. Look how beautiful the painting of my kids are. And they use this to claim that, hey, my school is really creative. They're scamming you. That's not what creativity is. Creativity basically is being able to think outside the box. This can be done in any subject. This can be done to any child. This is not something that some kids are born with and some kids are not born with. And if your school says or gives these examples for creativity, then they don't actually know what creativity means. And sadly, that's the reality with most of the schools and teachers. People don't understand what creativity is, and therefore if they don't understand, then they definitely cannot teach it. All right, I have a separate video explaining what creativity is and how it looks like in different subject areas. So if you want to know more details, you can watch that video. Now, third thing, if your child says that, hey, I like going to school because I like meeting my friends and spending time with them. But if you ask them about, hey, what about your classes? Do you like them? And they're like, oh, okay, cool, fine, maybe not. If that's the response, that means their curiosity is being stifled. If this means that their love for lifelong learning is not being formed, right? And that's the most important part. In fact, we have data stating that this generation of kids is less curious than my generation, and we were less curious than my dad's generation. Every generation on generation, curiosity has been declining. In fact, we have data also to see that curiosity kind of like decreases specifically after 6th grade. From 6th grade onwards, the curriculum and everything else start to become more and more challenging, and therefore there's more attention to IQ than creativity rubric or curiosity side, and that's why it keeps on declining. So if your kids' answer are these, then that means that curiosity, their love for learning, lifelong learning is not being developed or established, right? Next, AI and tech literacy. If your school does not teach technology, coding, robotics, AI, then these things are definitely not going to be developed. So that's an easy one. One more thing. If your school expects resilience from the students, emotional resilience specifically. For example, if your school expects that your child is going to wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning and get ready for school, don't care if they have slept enough, don't care if they have had a proper breakfast, but I want them in the bus and I want them in school by 7:30 a.m. and start their whole day. They kind of like put a lot more stress by giving them a lot of homework. Even in Diwali and Dussehra breaks, they put a lot of stress by multiple exams that keep on happening every single quarter. The lectures are a lot more boring, but the students are expected to learn and understand in the same period and not ask too many questions. If the school is putting these many pressures and expecting your child to actually tolerate and be resilient through this without actually teaching them what resilience seems or means like, without actually having a curriculum on social and emotional learning. I mean, if your school comes back and says that, hey, we have moral sciences, look at this. Moral science is not social emotional learning. First of all, it's more of civic sense. It's not to do with social emotional learning. There are a lot of different curriculums available. KSL is one body. Maybe I'll make a separate video on what social emotional learning means and feels like. Let me know in comments if you actually would want that. But yeah, this is very different. Your school should have a social emotional learning curriculum to be able to teach resilience to the kids, right? So if these are the factors, if these are the things that you're seeing in your child's school, in their education, that means they are not being prepared for the future. And that means their school is traditional, irrespective of the fact whether the school is Cambridge, CBSE, IB or whatnot, they still will be categorized in the traditional section. And by the way, nothing wrong against traditional schools. They're really good schools for preparing kids for 1980s, not for 2030s. Now I know what question you might have. Ram, what education system actually helps prepare for the future for these skills? Well, there are many. Here's one example. Project-based learning system. Let me explain to you with the help of a project. Well, these projects are not like, hey, make a volcano or make a 3D model of the solar system. No. Let's say one day I tell my students that, hey, you know what? There is a grocery store in our locality that is losing business to these new dark stores of Swiggy and Blinkit and Zepto that are coming up, right? And for the next couple of weeks, our job will be to go talk to the folks over there, talk to the owners, the employees, talk to the users who are coming in, talk to the users who are not coming in, and learn a lot about why this business is losing money, and then make recommendations to actually help them survive, all right, and even become profitable. So we go over there and we talk to the owners for a few days. We try to answer some questions about, hey, what's the business model? How much amount of inventory do you actually have, and what are your profits, and how do you actually make profits? What's the footfall like? We talk to the employees over there and figure out, hey, how does the business actually work? We talk to the people who are coming in the store and figure out, hey, why are you still coming to the store? Like, what benefits, what are the things that you like about this store, and what else would you like to see in this store? Now see, this is not a very different way of learning. What I mean by that is that it's not like kids are learning very different things. It's not like they're not learning the maths and science that they're anyway supposed to learn at this age level. No, to be able to understand the business of this store, they will anyways need to learn about arithmetics, fractions, decimals, percentages, because I mean their solutions might recommend, hey, give some discounts, and percentages will come into picture, right? Profit and loss, financial literacy, all of those things that the kids are anyway supposed to learn, they are learning that. On top of it, they're learning the skills that actually matter for the future. They are learning how to take a big problem, break it down to smaller pieces, use logical reasoning skills to actually be able to solve them, which is analytical thinking. You see that this problem of helping this business survive is not a small problem. This is a big problem. This combines a lot of problems. Maybe the problem is with having a huge inventory, which is making you burn a lot of money. Maybe the problem is employing a lot many people. Maybe the problem is not having a website or an app which can do a lot better marketing. Maybe the problem is not having better operations because you don't have enough delivery boys who can quickly deliver the goods to the users. Those kind of things. And everything is a new territory in itself. So that's where analytical thinking comes into picture. Creative problem solving. As you can see, there is not going to be just one single solution to this problem. There are going to be multiple solutions that are possible, and therefore the kids have to figure out which solution are they going to go ahead with. Curiosity. You see, kids are not coming to school because, hey, it's going to be fun and all. They're coming to school because there is a genuine problem that they want to solve. They actually want to help the people, and they actually want to figure out, hey, how things are running. And they're really curious and excited about, hey, I did not know how a shop runs. And that's the reason why they're coming right now. They will ask a lot of their own questions, and they'll be a lot more motivated to be able to answer these questions, their own questions, and not the questions that some author has written in the book and they just want you to memorize for what all reason we don't know, right? Along with this, AI and tech literacy is going to be a core part of it. Like, as I said, hey, you might be designing a website for the shop or an app for the shop, or you might be, putting out some ads in the market. So, a lot of those thinking will happen. Financial literacy is going to be part of this, right? Emotional resilience. You would be learning social emotional learning skills to be able to talk to, users who are coming in, to be able to empathize with the employer and the employees of the store and everybody else, to understand and be able to design a solution that is helpful for them, right? So as you can see, this project-based learning system employs projects that are really authentic, make sense in the real world, and are relevant for the future. Employs learning of these future skills along with the core curriculum knowledge that are anyways going to be required. But you might be thinking that, hey, if this is so simple, anybody can do it. Why aren't traditional schools able to do it? Well, first of all, it's really costly because it requires a really skilled teacher, as you can see this, right? Second of all, it requires you to kind of like break away from the shackles of traditional education system. Hey, you can't have exams so frequently over here. You can't have the pressure of homework and things like that, because you can't even have periods, by the way, because, hey, for the next 2 weeks, my students are just going to be thinking about this particular problem. They are going to go in the market, going to go to the shop, spend time on the shop for a few hours every single day for the next 2 weeks, and then come back, learn about the things that are required to actually solve this problem, which is math, science, financial literacy, and things like that, and then design solutions, go back to the shop, ask the users, ask the employers, is this going to be helpful and all. So you see, there's a back and forth and complete thinking for this particular problem. Where is the time to learn different subjects, which you anyways are learning? You're not missing on those, but you're learning in the context of this problem. So it requires kind of like breaking away from this mold of traditional system that we have rigorously formed, which cannot be easily done. Now I know what you might be wondering, that Ram, this method definitely sounds a lot better than the traditional system. I mean, the projects are a lot more exciting for the kids. They are motivated to do and learn things. And of course, the learning is going to be a lot more memorable because, for us, the reason for learning something was exams. And we all know that after exam, we used to forget half of the things that we learned, right? But here, the reason is going to be to solve real world problems. And that memory is going to be really deep in their minds. So more memorable, more engaging. So of course, I feel like this is going to be exciting and much better. But does it really work? Do we have data on it? And yes, we do. A lot of studies have been done on project-based learning system and in comparison to traditional systems, and this has come out to be much better. For example, Michigan State in the US did some big study, like 2,500 students were involved in that study, and they came out stating that, hey, 8 students actually had 8% better understanding and retention of science concepts. That was the study. In fact, multiple other studies have been done. This is not a one-off case. Multiple studies have shown that, hey, be it collaboration skills, problem solving skills, or subject depth, right? In all of these criterias, project-based learning system fares better than the traditional system, right? So last thing, if you're a parent or a teacher, what can you do? So, I mean, learn more about project-based learning system, how that is done. I think that's anyways going to empower you. There's a website called PBL Works, and you can go and learn many things from there. Or if you want, you can even contact me and I can give you some materials to kind of like quickly learn through it, or maybe some suggestions. If you are a parent of a child being homeschooled or unschooled and you want more guidance on how to do this, you can contact me. By the way, I do have a school that runs exactly like this, the way that I explained, and even much more. So if you want to join, you can even contact me. If you're a teacher who wants to learn about this PBL method, then again you can contact me for the same reasons, and I can help you out.